Hi, it's Robin. I've got here 4 electronic games from the early 80s, all manufactured by Tomy, although this one is branded by Tandy, Radio Shack. Way back in 1982 or maybe 1983, I bought my first one of these, Tomytronic Tron game, based on the 1982 movie. Then over the years, I found Caveman and Scramble as used games. I think I picked Scramble up for just $2, and I can't remember how much I paid for Caveman. Originally, I didn't notice that they had much in common, but then I noticed that these games had the same style case as the Tron that I've had for decades. And finally, I started researching it and found out that I was just missing this game Lupin, which I just received this week. After a search for a reasonably priced one, still cost me about $70 shipped from Japan, but that was by far the best price I've seen on one in several months of searching. I don't think all 4 of these games have been shown in one video before. You can see videos on YouTube of people playing some of these one by one, but it took a bit of research to get to the bottom of it. In particular, this game Scramble added the most confusion. It's being released in other markets and under different brand names as Astro Blaster, Rambler, Alien Attack, and of course Scramble. So I'm now considering my collection complete. Even without those games, the internal gameplay is identical. And as much of a completionist as I may be, I can't really justify all the extra expense just to buy the same game in a different package over and over again. So of course, Tomy made many other electronic games, but as far as I know, these are the 4 unique models that all share the same form factor. All 4 of these games use exactly the same molds, and of course different color plastics. Each control panel is unique, and then the internals, the vacuum fluorescent display, and of course the ROM code is different each one. And actually I just recently discovered that they use 2 different processors, Lupin and Tron. Both use variations on a Hitachi HD 38800, while Caveman and Scramble use the NEC D553C. Both of those microprocessors have RAM and ROM built in. The ROM code is actually included in the microprocessor, so they do a unique run for each new game that's made. As far as I know, these 2 games have 2 kilobytes of ROM, and Tron and Lupin, which are both a bit more complicated, have 4K ROM. You can see the form factor is identical. All 4 of them have a 6-volt DC input jack on the right side. And all 4 have the same battery compartment door. And if you're not using the adapter, they all take 4 C-cell batteries. In case you're wondering why kids would want these games, here's the Sears Christmas book from 1981, a scan of it. And here is like the Sears Video Arcade, which is basically a rebranded Atari 2600. And you see that they want $147.99 for it. The Atari 2600 debuted at $200 and came down to about $150 by 1981, 1982. But still, that's quite a bit of money. And down here you can see that games ranged from $20 and more expensive, like licensed titles like Space Invaders or this Race, are $30 and $40 each. And that was very typical, games costing at least $20 to $40 per cartridge. So these handheld games were competitive. If they sold for $30, $40 retail and you could get them on sale once in a while for $20, they're basically the same price as a single cartridge. Plus, you didn't have to buy the console. You weren't tying up the TV screen that your parents wanted to watch their show. And the game was portable. You could bring it with you. So despite only playing one game, they definitely had their advantages and they had their place. We'll take a closer look at each one and give it a play. So like I was saying, this is the first one I ever had, and I love this game. Tomytronic Tron, and it shows there's Tron, Sark, the light cycle, and the MCP. It says copyright 1981 Walt Disney Productions. I think it was actually released in I think it was actually released in 1982 with the movie. I realized after this is the first time I'd ever seen a D-pad, a control pad, and both the speed and shoot button, and a power on-off switch. I guess that's supposed to look like the Tron's disc. A nice detail here is that it's a bit scratched up, but that this is the only one with a translucent shell, kind of like the smoked shell. And you can see that they put fake circuits in there. And there it says World of Tron, YZ4000, C81000, TS5600, and XS750. Not sure if those are just supposed to be kind of computery words. But pretty cool little details there. And most of the games have this instruction sticker on the back. I always love how they put these on electronic games for us kids who would lose the instruction sheets. Okay, let's give the game a try. So start a game of Tron. No volume controls, so it's quite loud. I'll try to talk louder than it. And the first game is Light Cycles. And it's interesting that the game scrolls. So the playfield is bigger than the screen. Pretty unusual for electronic games, I think. I'm that blue car. Oh, lost. So it's me versus Sark. The D-pad controls the direction, and the other button is like a bit of a boost to make the cycle go faster. And there I defeated Sark enough times. Now it's the disc game. Sark throws the disc and I need to catch it. And he kind of just cycles through these positions. Whoops. And I think you can each lose 4 of your rings. So it's a matter of timing it. Once you finish the game, then things speed up quite a bit. It gets a lot more difficult. It is challenging playing this through the viewfinder on my camera. Getting good camera settings to record this was pretty challenging too. So I hope it turns out okay. I can see it's flickering a bit. There we go. Okay, and the third stage of the game is trying to defeat the MCP. So Tron's just in a fixed position. You throw the disc, and then it cycles. You get one more shot. There you go. To hit the core. So it's pretty neat how they reuse elements of the VFD for different purposes. Those little walls are like those little wall segments that are behind the light cycles are also part of the light bikes, as you see. And one other interesting thing is that the maximum score on this is 1,995, so it's not a full 4 digits of score. Let's get a good enough score so that if you wrap it, you see the score goes back to 0, but then these little bars are added. See how Sark's a bit faster here. So Sark will jump ahead, like he's cycling through his positions, but will go on to the next position to catch a disc if he's nearby it. Like that time there. Okay, one more time with defeating the MCP. So the first shot, always get it off as quick as you can. And then the second shot you have to time. There we go. So you see that my score says 095 because it's wrapped around. But there's a little bar to the left of it that indicates an extra 2,000 points. So when you get a really high score, like, I don't know, you'll be up in the 8 or 10,000s. So here you get an idea of how much faster it gets. This is the third level now, third time around. And it's quite a bit faster. Okay, so that's Tron. So just a bit of insight on how these games work. Tron and Lupin both use this HD 38800, which is part of this HMCS 44 family, and these are 4-bit single-chip microcomputers because they contain the ROM, the RAM, the I/O, timer event counter, all on the single chip. So yeah, it's a 4-bit processor, so essentially this is calculator technology that's being used to make these games. And the other big advantage of these is they have built-in support for high voltage I/O. That is, they can directly provide the high voltage that the vacuum fluorescent displays need. Apparently up to 49 volts max. And also here you see that it has 2048 words, that's 2K of ROM. Interestingly, it's 10 bits per word, and whatever pattern ROM is, but also 160 digits of data RAM, so 160 nibbles, because it's just 4 bits each. It's got 32 I/O lines, which are required to drive these complicated VFDs. And you can see all the specs there. And likewise, here's the NEC D553 that Scramble and Caveman use, and it's also a 4-bit single-chip microcomputer with high voltage outputs. And it says here it executes all 80 instructions of the Microcom 43 instruction set. So I looked that up. Here's the Microcom 43 single-chip microcomputer user's manual from 1978 by NEC. And it gives the specs here. That's, again, it's a 4-bit processor. It has 2K of 8-bit program ROM, 96 nibbles of RAM, 35 input-output channels, and there's more info there. So I'm recording this after I record most of the episode, and while I was reviewing the footage of the game screens, I noticed that the refresh rate kept changing. That is, sometimes there was very little flicker. I was capturing at 30 frames a second, and sometimes the flicker would vary a lot. And so that says to me that these microprocessors are responsible for refreshing the VFD, and it's driven by software ultimately, especially when a game is playing sounds, that the refresh rate seems to change quite a bit. I especially noticed that Scramble and Caveman that use this NEC chip that seems to be a little less powerful, when it plays music, it actually blanks the screen during that time. So for more complicated changes in pitch, it seems that maybe it can't handle refreshing the display and playing more complicated sound at the same time. So just keep that in mind as you watch the other games and the rest of this episode, that there seems to be a relationship between the sound and the refresh rate, and I believe that's because of the limitations of these processors. Next is Caveman, and you see how it has the Tandy imprint instead, but I'm sure it was made by Tomy, and of course Tandy, as they often did, would just get it to be rebranded for their store. They brought lots of Japanese electronics over to sell in the North American Radio Shack stores and maybe elsewhere in the world too. This one instead has a left-right joystick, a start and shoot button, and in addition to the on-off button, also an amateur or pro switch. And there we go. Caveman, it shows the points. Again, here on the battery door, it gives instructions, including the Radio Shack catalog number, Caveman, dinosaur, volcanic bomb, prehistoric bird, and egg. Alright, let's give that a try. Press the fire button to start. Okay, so there's your little green caveman on the left there. And you have to throw an axe up at that dinosaur's head, then press the fire button to grab an egg from him and drop it back off again. Oh, there's another one. And the dinosaur won't look at you sometimes. So this first level's pretty easy. There's another one. You see how when you stun him, there, those little stars appear above his head. And they start to flash when he's almost not stunned anymore. There, we'll grab it. I find it's best to hold down the fire button until it flashes to pick it up. Grab it. There we go. And we got all the eggs, and we're done the first level. Okay, second level adds the pterodactyl up above. Oop. And you have to shoot the pterodactyl in one of these positions, here or here. There. In this position, you can only shoot the dinosaur. And the pterodactyl tries to grab your eggs. There we go. Oh. Fortunately, the pterodactyl doesn't always try to grab an egg every time back. Oop. Oh, there, that was fairly easy. Okay, now we got everything going. The volcano's erupting and these bits of lava or whatever coming down. So you have to avoid them, obviously. They only seem to hit you if you're above, if they come down on your head. Once they're lower, you can go through them safely. Oh, there's that little baby dinosaur that shows up once in a while. Oh, no. Lava got me. Fortunately, you get to keep the eggs that you already had grabbed. Don't you hate games that make you start totally over from the beginning of the level? It's like, what was the point in even playing? Gotta wait till the dinosaur looks this way again. Which can be hard with the lava coming down. There we go. Go on. Oh. I don't really know what happened there. I should mention earlier that cycling, you can't actually see that with your eyes when you're just playing the game. I don't know if I'll be able to reduce that in post-production. Okay, so now we got everything going. We got the pterodactyl. And it just gets really intense. I don't think I've shown a pterodactyl grab an egg yet. So we'll let it do that here. Whoops. Oh, there, pterodactyl grabbed the one that's on that pedestal. I don't know why he bothers putting it on, why the caveman bothers putting it on the pedestal. Might as well just tuck it safely away in the cave in the first place. Okay, that's Caveman. Okay, and here's the Scramble game. Again, it's by Tomy. Almost an identical layout to Caveman, except that they've put an up and down joystick instead of the left and right. Has the scoring on the bezel here. And unfortunately, mine's pretty beat up here, but it says Tomytronic Scramble. And here it has the instructions for Scramble on the battery door. And it does actually mention the Konami trademark. Strangely, even the version of this game called Alien Attack still has the Konami copyright on it. So if you're in Germany, you might know this game as Rambler. And if you're in the UK, you may have known it as Astro Blaster, sold by Hales. So that would be another version of this. But it's all the same game, exactly the same gameplay. Okay, let's give this a play. And here we go. There's the game. So again, it's reusing the VFDs. These green ones are rockets, so that's obvious. But if they have that red thing around them, it's a fuel tank. And on the right there is your fuel bar under your score. And you see it's got the scrolling terrain in the squares, represented by the squares. Okay, and those little dots are the meteors, and the rockets and the fuel tanks are scrolling along the bottom. So they put in a good effort replicating all the elements of Scramble, I think. Especially considering the limitations of these fixed vacuum fluorescent displays, so you can just stay low under the meteors. But once in a while the terrain forces you up, like here. And you're probably familiar with Scramble, but you gotta keep your fuel reserves high. They keep dropping down. And here's these like UFO ships. They're like a fuel tank. Oh! Like a fuel tank without the rocket inside is what the image is. Oh, no more UFOs. And now we're entering the caves. You might notice I didn't mention that there's a bomb. You shoot both ahead to the right, but also a bomb drops down each time you press the fire button. Oh, I overly anticipated the scroll there. It does start you partway through the level, fortunately. Okay, and there, now we're through the cave, and now it's this final kind of boss. Don't grab any fuel right away. And for each of those columns, you don't want to shoot... Oh, okay, now I better get some fuel to fill up again. Oh. So the idea is to shoot out all but one of each column. Oh. Oh, I'm doing terribly. This might be the worst I've ever done. Out of fuel. Ah. All right, now. There we go. That was easy, a second try. And the game wraps around, of course. And it plays faster. Might as well wrap the score at 2000 again, just like Tron. Okay, so now the score is wrapped. I'm going to deliberately crash here. And it should show my score, and that little bar shows that's wrapped around the extra fuel bar. If you saw that, do that one more time. See, when it shows the score, there'll be... There we go. So it shows the score with the extra fuel bar in the bottom right, and that indicates that you wrapped it once at 2,000 points. Okay, that's Scramble. And finally, here's Lupin. And this is the one that I don't think was released in North America at all. maybe it was released in the UK, but it might have been a Japanese-only release. So it shares the same processor as Tron, and it also has a 4-directional D-pad, but strangely they put it on the right-hand side and the fire start button on the left. But when we play it, you'll see that you can actually only shoot to the left, so that might have been why they did that. So this game, instead of saying Tomytronic, it says computer game up there in the top left, Lupin, dynamic multi-screen LSI CPU, FIP index panel, and down there it has the scoring system. So even though it's English there, it has Japanese there at the adapter input, and the instructions on the battery compartment are also all in Japanese. Copyright Tomy. It's actually tough to figure out what this Lupin is about, but I think I've got it straight now. Back in 1905, French writer Maurice Leblanc created a character Arsène Lupin, which is a fictional gentleman thief and master of disguise, and wrote a bunch of books about this character through into the 1920s, and then there were films and TV shows made and other media that even continue to the present day. So that was in France, but then in Japan in 1967, Lupin III was created by Monkey Punch for a manga series called Lupin III or Lupin III, and this Lupin is supposed to be the grandson of Maurice Leblanc's character, but it's unlicensed. And so Lupin III is a popular manga and anime, and even if you don't know Lupin, the anime got brought over to North America by Stern in the laserdisc game Cliffhanger in 1983, and I absolutely loved that laserdisc game. I thought it was like way more fun than Dragon's Lair. But of course it wasn't called Lupin, it was called Cliffhanger, but it was based on this character. Okay, so we've got a French creation and then an unlicensed Japanese creation based on that original one, which became super popular. And then this Japanese game comes out around 1982 called Lupin. It doesn't seem to be licensed from either character, but that was because in Japan at the time, or even maybe now, certain of those kind of copyrights just didn't apply. So as far as I can tell, this game is based on some Lupin, but not officially on either the first or third. Okay, let's play the game. It's a nice test display there. And this game actually has a demo mode. So it's kind of like a maze and a shooter and a collect-em game. So there's those things. And you see that there's these 3 keys you got to collect, and there's these red doors. So I'm that player top right corner, in case it's not obvious. And it cycles through these red doors that block off the keys. And you can shoot those guys to stun them. I'll grab that key. And yeah, you can only shoot to the left, which is a bit weird. That alarm happens sometimes. I don't really know what it means. There. Okay, and once you get all 3 keys, you can go down to the bottom left here and finish the level. Then you're on the second level. And it's just like a straight shooter, and you can only move left or right while those guys come at you. Which are like really just your pants with a bullet in them. It's a little weird. They remind me of that guy from He-Man. What is it? Orko or something? That little purple wizard guy. Except like super shrunk down. Okay, and then once you get them all, oh, there's the alarm again. I don't know if that matters. You can move freely around the room once you've shot all the enemies. Although you can't use that secret little door there. Anyway, we'll go in. There, and now the third level is like collecting a whole bunch of keys. like Pac-Man or something. Lock and chase? I don't know. And it's got those rotating red doors that periodically cycle. Did I get them all? Oh, no, I'm missing that one. There's that alarm again there. Oh, a guy came through that little secret door. Okay, so I'm going to use that. Go down here, and then you can come up there. So that's a little like Pac-Man. Okay, here we go. And now I'm like beating on that robot guy or something. It happens automatically. And then there's this little psych lottery. There's 777. And I got 300 bonus points. And now the game starts over again. So yeah, you can go down here and it warps you up there. And the bad guys can use that as well. There's a lot going on in this game for a handheld. So anyway, yeah, the game's cycled around here. And there I got all 3 keys or whatever. And there we go into the next level. And as always, the game speeds up after you've finished. After you've cycled it, the game speeds up. I like these games where you're just like free to walk around. That doesn't happen very often in a game like this, does it? You finish the level and then you can just kind of stand around in a electronic game. Oh, there's that alarm. Oh, he got me. So this one actually has a scrolling score, eh? 1,090 points. It only has 3 digits. So it scrolls it. Oh, that's game over, I guess. I started a new game. Okay, so that's Lupin. That's it. Did you have any of these games? Do you remember these ones? Or any of the variations of Scramble? Or maybe even I think there's other variations of Caveman, like different colors, different color cases. I love these old vacuum fluorescent display games. They have this glow to them and this intense sound. No other electronic game replicates for me. I mean, I love all kinds of other games, of course, and there's games that might be more fun. There's something so visceral about these games. Visceral. Okay, thanks to my patrons for their support. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Collecting the bottle caps, we needed all 6. Trying to spell Pac-Man with C was hard to get. I got my prize, a plastic yellow disc with 4 buttons, and in the middle, vacuum fluorescent display. The brilliant glow pierced my soul. Defender on sale at KB Toys.